This is Everyday Discipleship, a podcast whose mission is to equip Christians to live for the glory of Christ from a biblical worldview. My name is Chad Lee. With me is Cole Chenal, and we are two pastors at Reformation Baptist Church in Northwest Arkansas. And today, we're going to be looking at
how to get a date.
How to get a date. I'm excited for this one because we have seen an increase in individuals that are single that have a desire to get married. And so we have these conversations pretty frequently, and that's what we're going to do today. Just practical advice on how to get a date.
Yeah, it's like really, because obviously as pastors, like when people have a desire to get married, Paul, when he talks about in Corinthians, he says, I wish everyone would remain as I am. Like he's talking to a persecuted church. I don't think Paul is saying like, I don't want anybody to get married in churches, because obviously he holds marriage in very high esteem. It's like in Ephesians 5, it's a picture of Christ in the church. I think, but what Paul definitely says in Corinthians is, it's better married than burn of passion, that if someone has a desire to get married, we as pastors want to help them. And I think it's funny. I don't know if it's funny. What kind of sparked it for me was I went to an Arkansas basketball game last week, and walking in, you see all these college guys, right? And their hair was terrible. and I was joking about it with my wife.
It's bad out there.
I was like, these guys need to get some hair product in their hair. How are they ever going to get a girl? And that's when you and I started talking about it. And I don't know how much of the practical. Obviously, there's some spiritual stuff we'll talk about too. But the practical, what are the things you do to get a date? Like, how does that work? How do you talk to a girl? If you're a girl, how do you express interest in the guy without being too forward?
No, you moved quickly too ahead there for me, because listen, the mustache game, I love it, but if you can't grow one, you need to shave it
That's
off.
gonna be part of it.
Yeah,
it's like part of it's like for the guys, like if you can't grow a full beard, dude, shave it off. Shave off that little wisp. Listen, I want to look like Top Gun. I wish I could look like Top Gun too. I tried. And I tried, and when somebody said, "Are you trying to grow a mustache?" That's the day I shaved it. I was like, "I'm not going to do it. I can't do it."
If somebody has to point it out, then you're done.
Yeah,
the little fro. I don't know where the fro curly thing came. You get a haircut,
but so it really is kind of like, there's. I think we've had conversations with people in our church that desire to date, I know we've done episodes on courtship and dating and how to do that. This is more about that. This is more about like how to even get on a date. Period. Because I think there are some practical things that people just have not been told or have not heard, things that, maybe we had to learn the hard way, and that dads or moms or whatever just aren't teaching, aren't saying. I don't hear anybody. I think one of the benefits of this episode is that, like, I don't know. I don't hear anybody talking about the stuff that I plan on kind of saying on guys and girls and what that looks like. But obviously, if you're wanting to get married, you got to start that, because we don't live in a culture that has arranged marriages. Although maybe not the worst thing. You got to start that with talking to somebody and going on a date. Yeah. And so a lot of this, I think, is going to be primarily directed at men, because, shocker, we are more familiar with men.
Sure, yeah.
and what men need to do. But hopefully there'll be some helpful stuff for girls and stuff too. And so I'll ask you first. So say a guy came to you and said, hey, there's a girl I'm interested in, whatever. How do I get a date? What do I do?
I would say stop wearing pajamas outside of the house.
So maybe that's
get rid of the pajama bottoms and find some nice clothes to wear outside the house.
Okay, so that kind of gets it. This is something that maybe people need to hear. You got to try to be attractive. Like immediately, and that's what's so funny. Immediately, you're going to get pushback on that. That's so vain. That's so worldly.
Vanity, all vanity.
Listen, if that's vanity, you need a little vanity in your life. Like you need to look in the mirror and be like, "Am I trying to look good?" I mean, like look at nature.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the Bible, right? Like God chose Saul to become king. Like what was said about Saul? He was very tall and very handsome. What about David? He was very ruddy, right? He was a good-looking dude, good-looking guy. I can't help how God made the world.
Yeah.
And what you should do is you should strive to look presentable. Like strive to and that's what you're getting at is, we talk about all the time about I don't understand how people, the state of dress in our culture is so far below of any kind of level of attractiveness or dignity, I think.
Yeah. It really is this idea of self-respect. I've told you this when you read Booker T. Washington's autobiography. One of the first things he tells these children who are coming out of slavery is brush your teeth, have self-respect in the way you present yourself to others.
Yeah.
And you walk out there today, you walk through Walmart, colored hair, zero makeup, pajamas, guys in T-shirts everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you need to wear something outside other than a T-shirt.
Well, it doesn't mean that, like, you have to wear a suit every day, but, like, what you should be doing is you should be striving to look presentable. You should be striving to look attractive. Like, we joked about the hair stuff. Man, like, I think one of the biggest things, I always joke about it, 90% of looks is hair. You got to get a good haircut, and you got to do your hair. Like, buy some American Crew pomade, American Crew forming cream, figure out how to do your hair. I mean, that's a huge part of it. Shave your face, look presentable. Especially this too. Get in shape. Like, you need to get in shape, get a little bit of muscle on you. Doesn't need to be, you don't need to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Right. But it's kind of like the idea of, and that's both sides. That's both sides, men and women, getting in shape and looking like somebody that's in shape. And it's not because of this vanity thing. It really is, in my philosophy of it, faithful in little, faithful in much. If you really are trying to attract a spouse, if someone I'll put it this way. This is what I think about it. Like, pastors are to be self-controlled, right? That's one of the qualities of a pastor. And I don't think, this is going to be an unpopular take, I don't think pastors should be morbidly obese, because does that communicate self-control?
Shows lack of discipline.
Does that communicate discipline? And that's the thing, right? If you're trying to attract a spouse, then one of the things you want to be communicating is discipline, a plan, the ability to work and strive towards a goal and effort.
Yeah, let's sit here for a second, because there are cultural reasons why we say things like, well, go work out. Well, because we're not in an agrarian society. Most people go to work every single day in an air conditioning car and sit in the office. They don't even break a sweat.
Yeah.
Right? And so there has to be this discipline to actually get your heart rate up, right? To burn fat, to burn calories. Because you're not burning calories that they did back in the day when they're working a farm carrying hay around, right? You're just not doing that daily. And so there is the working out. And then obviously the food in our culture these days, like the temptations abound.
It's all about self-control, right? Yeah. And you're communicating with your life like spiritual virtues. You really are. I mean, maybe this is a good thing to talk about, because Paul even says, like, physical exercise has some value. I mean, I've wanted to talk about this before. It does have some value. I mean, I think one of the big blessings, like Owen, my son, asked me, like, hey, why do you work out a lot? And I'm not too proud to admit it's because I'm a little vain. But a lot of the other reason, I was talking to him, I was like, really, buddy, because as a man, you need to be able to make yourself uncomfortable. You need to have the discipline to do things you don't want to do, right? Workout's a discipline. You need to have the discipline to do things you don't want to do, where no one else is, because no one's going to force you to do it.
Yeah, that phrase, voluntary suffering.
Like, you need to, and also to teach yourself and to train your mind to do hard things, to keep pushing when you don't want to keep pushing when it sucks, to keep pushing and to do it. Because those are things that, it's one thing I try to tell my son a lot is faithful in little, faithful in much. These things might seem like just ancillary out there things, but they actually start breeding into and communicating to all other aspects of your life. Like, I know in my life is that discipline begets discipline. That if I start getting lax in discipline in one area of my life, I'm going to start getting lax in discipline in other areas of my life.
Sure.
Right? If I'm lacking discipline in working out, I'm going to be lacking discipline in how I eat, lacking discipline in spiritual discipline. All those things are tied together. They're not independent of one another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it should be said, this practical advice is building on the foundation of being right with God and Christ, the spiritual foundations, character. When we talk about appearance and like advice to men and women, obviously we keep the first things first, right? But then there is you have to start preparing now, right? Like taking care of your body now, working on your appearance now, right? Not, like you said, getting a haircut.
And practically, like, if a woman, like, think about it this way, if you're a guy, like, if a woman is sitting there being like, who's the man that's going to protect me, provide for me, care for me, lead our family? I guarantee you, like, how you present yourself, how you look, is going to play into that. does this man communicate trust? Does this man communicate respect? Does this man communicate somebody that I can put my trust in to care for me and protect me? And that's kind of really what we're getting at when you talk about being attractive. It doesn't mean you need to be the best looking guy on the block. What it means is, do you communicate this idea, this gravitas of respect, and somebody that is trustworthy, somebody that will work hard, somebody that is disciplined? That's going to be hard to do if you're going out every day looking like a slob, looking like a neckbeard, right? Sitting in his mom's basement.
You guys shave the neck. There's 0 instances, other than if you're Shackleton on the Endurance for 2 years surviving.
Then it's acceptable.
You can grow the neck.
But you're also not trying to get a date at that point.
Yeah, you're not. You're surviving, so shave the neck.
I think with guys too, you know, one of my big things would be you're gonna have to get up the courage. I mean, it is funny because talking to girls is difficult, right? It can be nerve-wracking because you're facing potential rejection. That comes with the territory. You might get rejected.
I mean, statistically, you will get rejected.
But like, I think when it comes to a guy, like, especially with our culture today, and this goes for both sides too, there's a fine line between showing interest and being flirtatious. Like, you don't want to have the reputation of being a flirt, of using girls for fun or whatever. That you want to be respectable and you want to be dignified and you want to treat that woman with respect. And so I think, like, one of the ways, you know, because it is a hard thing, and I don't really have all the answers. Where do you, if you're a guy, a single guy, where do you find a girl? Because, like, especially in our culture today, both sides, where are you going to find someone who's solid theologically, that is solid biblically? That number is dwindling more and more, it seems like. And like faithful churches like ours, like, there's only a few singles around, right? And that's true, I think, for a lot of the churches that we kind of have association with. And so I think one of the things that I would say to both sides would be, one of the ways you get a date is just one of the practical things. Hanging out with friends, like friend groups and stuff, like, look around who's around, like, who are the people that have the interests you have. Maybe there's things going on out in town that you like to do, right? If you like to mountain bike, if you like to do CrossFit, if you like to go to breweries, like, go to those events, go to those things, go to that stuff, do things you like to do. Man, there's no order for this, but one of the things you really need to tell guys is, don't come off as desperate. You know, like, guys so often will come, they get weird. They get weird because they're so desperate about it. It's like, man, just be cool. Be a normal dude. Like, talk, carry yourself, have an identity of who you are in Christ and what you like to do, and be cool with that. And
yeah, there has to be this air of confidence.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not pride, it's not arrogance, but there's got to be this confidence in who you are, and that you're not just desperate and you're not trying to be somebody you're not. I think it's not. Don't be ashamed to ask other people, right? Before like the culture we have now, how did people meet people? I think a lot of people, as family and friends, setting people up, like meeting people in church, right? These kind of common places. And so don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm interested. Don't be afraid to go on a blind date, I guess is what I'm saying. At worst, listen, I've had a bad blind date before. It was terrible, but it didn't affect my life. Like, they're not all going to be winners, but don't be afraid of asking other people for help. And hey, do you know anybody? And because you want to find people that you think are going to have similar values and have high quality. And so you ask those people that you trust, right? And I think if there is a girl you like, and if there is a girl you're interested in, stick out your chest, go up and say, hey, would you like to go on a date with me? I'd like to take you out.
Yeah, and people are more apt to do that if you are actually taking care of yourself, right? Like, they can actually recommend, like, hey, this person would be good to court, or is potential marriage material.
They've godly character. They're a good guy. They're working hard at their job, right? It's like, what kind of characteristics are you striving for? And that's something that we'll get to in a little bit. But, like, guys need to be told, like, go and talk to her face to face and ask her on a date, right? Don't hide behind text messages. Like, don't do things cowardly. And I think when the opportunity comes, whether it kind of depends on the level of the relationship. I think at some point you need to ask the dad. That might be uncommon in our culture today, but even saying, "Hey, I would like to take your daughter on a date. Are there any questions you have for me? Would that be okay with you?" I remember Jessica's dad when I wanted to date her. I had never met him. I told her I was interested in dating and asked if I could talk to her dad and ask his permission, and called him up and said, "Hey, I would like to take your daughter on a date. I know you haven't met me. This is a little bit who I am. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer that." And I remember him being like, "No one's ever really done this before." But I think that's an important thing because it shows high character.
Yeah, it is uncommon and out of practice, but
and it honors the father.
Yeah, we should be honoring the father. Yeah, that's good. I think just to put a bow around your previous point, if you have a desire to get married, you cannot just do the status quo of go to work, come home, stay in your apartment. Like, you've actually got to put yourself out there. You've got to have relationships. You've got to go to places. This goes back to also just being active in general, right? You have to be putting yourself in situations where you're going to up the chances of meeting somebody.
Well, and that's like the thing with a guy. It really is kind of, hey, is there a girl you're interested in? Is there a girl you're attracted to that you like who she is and how she carries herself? A guy's a little bit easier of a position because he can go up and say, "Hey, would you like to go on a date with me?" And it's either yes or no. From a girl perspective, it's a little bit more difficult because you're not really able to be quite so forward.
Sure.
Like, we do believe men should be the ones pursuing. And it doesn't mean you can't be a little bit like Esther, right? Going to Boaz. Maybe not the recommended thing pastorally. But so like, that was like one of the questions I was asking Jessica this morning when we were talking about, I was telling her we might do this episode. And I said, what does a woman do to
show that she's interested?
Show she's interested in a guy, because I think, right? I feel for women. Women are looking around and saying, "Man, there's not a lot of guys. There's not a lot of guys that are marriage material." And that's where I would tell a guy, "Man, if you're striving to be marriage material, you're going to have a leg up on a lot, because there's just not, the pool's not that deep."
It's not. Well, it's not. And that's why the average age, the Barna Group said in their research on this, the average age now for men to get married is 29.
Man,
for females, it's 27.
It's a long time.
That's a long time, right? That's a long time for individuals to be waiting and desiring to get married. 20, almost 30 years old, right? And that's not even taking into account when somebody is actually acting like an adult in our culture today.
Well, that's a big part of it. So I think that's saying it is striving to be mature, like not dwelling in this land of perpetual adolescence where you're not taking responsibility for yourself. I mean, that's it. That's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the working out stuff, taking care of yourself. It really, like, and you mentioned it, the Booker T. Washington thing. It really is about taking responsibility for yourself. But I think, like, with a woman, I think girls should strive to, if there's a guy you're interested in, there's ways you can give him hints and clues, right? I think that a girl, like, should make it obvious that, "Hey, I have interest in you," where a guy, like, goes, "Man, does she like me? Like, because she talks to me, she's kind to me, she's interested." I think don't be aloof, I guess, would be what I'd say, right? Another way I think a girl could show interest, or to, like, kind of work towards that, is inviting the guy out to friend stuff. Like, if hey, us girls, we're gonna go do stuff, let's invite the guy friends. Like, I remember Jessica, literally. First day I met her, she was like, "Hey, would you like to come to a friend's birthday party with me? A friend's surprise birthday party with me and with us?" And I did. And some guy I didn't even know showed up at his birthday party, but that's how it happens. Yeah. It's like, hey, find opportunities to get around, like to make yourself available.
Sure, yeah. Emma offered me some watermelon Sour Patch Kids, and so I knew that this is going to move forward.
I asked Jessica, I was like, would a girl, like, show interest in the guy, like baking them cookies? Because if a girl baked me cookies, I'm like, "Oh, sick, dude, that's pretty awesome."
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, not just to a total stranger." And I said, "Well, that's not what I mean. But, like, if you're, like, in a friend group and stuff, and the guy's a little dense, bake him some cookies." Every guy gets cookies. You're like, this girl could be a wife. Like, she bakes good cookies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think too, another thing that Jessica did with me was asking for help just on stuff. We were working together at a church. We were interning together at a church, and when she would have things to do, she'd say, because Seattle was rough. It was rough to get around. Couldn't really ever find parking. So she'd, hey, would you drive me around, help me run errands? And we were spending time together, doing stuff together. And that was the way we were getting to know each other and talk to each other and all that stuff. Obviously, you don't want to use a guy. You don't want to keep your guy on your leash that you have no interest in. Yep. So that would be not right. But I think those are different things that.
There are ways that you can make it known.
Yeah, just make it kind of obvious. Hey, there's some interest here, and he'll either pick that up or not pick that up. And I think too, what's funny is girls should be told as that just because a guy asks you on a date doesn't mean you have to say yes.
Yeah,
you don't have to feel pressure, right, to say yes because you feel bad for him and like I'll just give him a date, whatever. No, just say no. He's not a lost puppy. He'll be fine. He'll get over it.
Yeah, it's actually more kind to him to say no. just
you know
say
what I mean?
Yeah, just say no and let him move on.
But I think like kind of like some of the big stuff would be taking care of yourself, especially for women. I think modesty is a huge deal, especially in our culture, right? Coming across as modest, not being a flirt, that's going to be the stuff that is going to turn guys off from dating. I think some of it really is just,
for the guys that you would want to date.
Yeah. And some of it is really just getting around each other, right? Getting around each other, whether that's at church, getting around each other in social events, social hangouts, asking friends and family for advice and interest there. And I think at the end of the day, it's like taking responsibility for yourself and striving to present yourself as if somebody that to attract somebody else. Like what is attractive to you? Why would somebody want to date you? Right.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, for me, well, I'll say this, like, do you have any other advice, like any other thoughts that come to mind?
Yeah. I mean, I think in the waiting, right, being very intentional in the waiting and the things we're talking about as far as with your appearance, right? But then when you get obviously deeper levels of character and being the future spouse that somebody's going to be attracted to, that somebody's going to want, somebody's going to desire, as far as reading good books, being interesting, right? Being disciplined. Guys need to be reading It's Good to Be a Man if you're in your 20s. It's a good book on biblical masculinity. You need to read it. Also with that, though, you need to probably lift some weights. You need to learn to eat better, right? And be disciplined. Discipline with your sleep. All these things that you're doing as you are preparing in faith and obviously praying that God would bless you with the spouse. But you're being very intentional in the way you are living in this kind of in-between time.
Well, I think like the in-between time, maybe that kind of goes in with probably the last thing I would have to say is this. I know we've done an episode before on like reverse engineering your life and stuff like that. Like I remember a big shift happened. I can still remember it like it was yesterday. It was before I met Jessica, and a big shift happened for me when I'm single. I'm sitting in my apartment and I'm reading the Bible. And I'm just praying about stuff. Obviously, desiring to be married, and I thought to myself, when are you going to start being the man your wife respects and your kids want to be like? That's kind of really what we're talking about this whole episode.
Yep.
And that's really for both sides. Like when are you going to start being the wife that your husband loves, cares for, cherishes, right, as his own body, and start being the mom that would be like what a man is looking for. I think the idea is what really stuck with me. I asked myself that question, and I realized there was nothing stopping me from being a lot of that man today. Like obviously I couldn't be a husband because I didn't have a wife. Obviously I couldn't be a father because I didn't have kids, but I could be the kind of man that like, and so you start asking yourself that kind of question. What does that man do? How does that man talk? How does that man organize his day? How does that man prioritize his life? Well, that like, for me, I was like, well, that man, what does that man do? That man that leads his family well, that his wife respects and his kids let him be like, he is spiritually disciplined. He reads his Bible. He pursues the Lord. He puts his sin to death. He doesn't let sin linger in his life.
Well, and also to that end, obviously what are men doing? They're preparing to be a husband and father if they have that desire. And the call of the husband, obviously in Ephesians, is to teach. Like these men that you look up to, this role of the father is to constantly be teaching different life skills. So I would say for these men that have a desire is be learning skills, be learning new things, whether it be in the home, whether it be cars, whether it be music, whether it be whatever it is. Like make it a goal to be learning new skills, right? That's interesting. Women want to know, they want to see men who have skills, right?
Yeah.
And the same with women, learning that as you're preparing yourself to be a helper for your future husband.
Titus 2,
You're learning to cook. If you don't know how to cook, learn how to cook, right? This is where the church is so beneficial, because the older women get to teach the younger women how to cook, how to bake, how to clean, how to organize, right? Most of the time, wives do a lot of keeping of the calendar for their men, right? I mean, Emma's a great helper in that. When somebody asks me to do something, the first thing I say is, well, I've got to check with my wife, because I need to know that evening's available, right? So learning these skills so that will be attracted to the opposite sex.
Well, here's the way I say it: make yourself a catch. That would be probably a pretty good summary.
Shave
of
the
whole
neck
thing.
beard and make yourself a catch.
Make yourself a catch. Because like I said, it's not just about the physical outward appearance. Because even Proverbs talks about that you could have like a loud woman is like a
dripping man,
dripping, like, right, that it could be like a
ring
in a pig's snout.
You want to hide on the roof.
That attractive, like outward attraction is not just what we're talking about. We're mentioning that because that's something that I see deficient in a lot of people today.
We've gone way far the other.
But like what I'm talking about is like also that godly character that makes you a catch. Those, like Joe said, those godly skills. Like when you, like for the dudes, when you start being the man your wife respects and your kids want to be like, when you start being that disciplined, godly man that people look like, man, that guy's a great dude, or man, she would be such a catch. Like do the things, especially like do the things that you can. Other people say, I better snatch them up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, how are you striving to be that kind of guy, growing in those disciplines, growing in that stuff, so that you can, because that's such a huge part. Because I know for me in my own personal life, in a few months after I started kind of saying, okay, well, if that's what that man looks like, what are those things I can be doing today? I'll start doing those things today. And I met Jess within a few months of that, and it really was just being kind of, I think for another thing for dudes, just be straightforward about your intentions. Just be straight up. Like, don't play games.
Yeah, that points to the character.
Yeah,
right?
Just be straight up. Say, hey, would you like to go on a date? No, okay, that's fine. Move on to the next one. Don't get mad. Don't get your feelings hurt. Right? I think, don't be a giant flirt. I mean, like that. Have a man of upstanding character, right? And so,
I think at some point you can use flatterer and one who flirts pretty synonymously.
Yeah.
Right? Scripture's very, very clear about the perils of being a flatterer.
But I think at the end of the day, that would be the practical advice I would have, is strive to be the person, right, that would be a catch for somebody else.
Yeah.
And what does that person look like? And what does that person do? And what are those things that you can be doing today? And then I think you find, listen, man, it's not that hard. You find somebody you think they could be a potential good spouse. Like, I see qualities in them that are godly. There's qualities in them I respect. There's qualities in them that I like. Would you like to go to dinner? Would you like to go to dinner and get to know each other a little bit better?
Yeah, there it is. And that's also the beauty of the local church, is that you have, hopefully in a healthy church, you have men and women, husbands and wives, and people you're doing life with. You can go to them and ask for help, right? Ask for help. And, hey, where do you see deficiencies here? What do I need to be doing to help prepare myself and to be a catch for the opposite sex, because I have this desire to get married? I think it's good.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't think so.
No, I think we covered quite a bit. We jumped around a lot, but I think it was all good stuff.
Well, hopefully it was a blessing.
Yeah.
People.
We hope that this conversation on how to get a date blesses you. And until next time, this is Everyday Discipleship.